Yeah, good morning, all of you. Let's begin our session. Have you gone through the earlier lectures? I forgot your name. Vinayaka?
Actually, only one lecture I have. Yesterday, I got a chance to go through only one lecture, first one. And the third one, actually, like yesterday's lecture, I have attended after 15 minutes, I have joined. That one also.
Okay, then fine.
Only one remaining.
Okay.
But from if we are starting from today, then are we going to cover that portion also, like from basic, or it will be started directly?
No, that is, we are in the basic level only, but
Okay.
you please find time to watch those videos as well. 3 or 4 hours whatever, right? So that would be fine.
No problem.
Now, yesterday we have seen that. Let's say we have two containers. We have created two containers, and this is Ubuntu 1, this is Ubuntu 2. And it has got some private IP address, something like I don't remember that exactly, 1.0.3, let's say. Now 1.0.4, let's say. Okay, this container can ping this container with the IP address. We went inside the Ubuntu 1 container. We are able to successfully ping this Ubuntu 2 with its IP address without doing any configuration. Just we run two containers and we are able to link them. By default, they have a connection with the IP address. But in container world, IP address have no significance because containers will be scaled up, scaled down. So the new containers will be coming, old containers will be deleted like that. So if that is the case, we will be getting the new IP addresses and the old IP addresses will be deleted. But how to have some reliable communication between or among multiple microservices or multiple containers? For that, we rely on host name or the service name. For that, what we have to do, even if they are able to ping each other with their IP address, by default, they won't be able to ping each other with their host name. What is the host name of the Ubuntu 2 container? The Ubuntu 2 container name itself will act as the host name. If we establish a communication between these two using link command, Docker link option in the Docker command, then we have seen that these containers will communicate with each other with their host names. We have seen that. Okay. Now let's see an example for that. So let's create a database and let's create WordPress container, and now let's establish a link between those two. If we establish a link between those two, now this WordPress will be able to access the database. How to create MySQL container? Again, I'm repeating Docker run. I want to name that container as MyDB. I want to run that container in detached mode. I want to pass the environment variable and the value as Laxman, and the image that I want to use is MySQL, and tag is 5, version 5 we can think of. Now let's do this. So before that, I am removing one stop. Yes.
Vinayak this side, sorry. Like actually, I want to know, like for some of the cases I have seen, like we are compulsory declaring the environment variables for like MySQL and other tools. Is it compulsory for these tools only, or for others also we can mention? And if you are not mentioning for these tools, what will happen?
The application was developed in such a way that we need to provide the environment variable for that.
Okay. So
Got
login
it,
ID and
right?
password.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
For
Okay.
example, if WordPress wants to talk to the MySQL,
Hmm.
my WordPress should have the details of the MySQL database, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so that custom MySQL database uh, things, that means the information, the credentials we will pass through the environment variables, because that
Okay.
WordPress website was designed such a way that it will accept the environment variables values.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to create the things that I have. Then now let's run this container. I'm naming that container as mydb. We're running that in detached mode. Now we have seen this link command. Link, what it does, I want to link this mydb. How do we specify? Hyphen link mydb, and this is some alias name. Okay, so I want to give this link name as MySQL. This is alias name. You don't need to worry about this. And this link is deprecated. Advanced version we have deprecated in the sense it works, but network is the advanced version. We will see that as well. So this got created. The container should be running. Container is up 19 seconds ago. Now let's execute this command as well so that WordPress container will be created. So with this same thing, I want to name that as my site, detached mode, performing manual port mapping. And this is the container port. This is the Docker host port I want to mention. I want to link this with the MyDB. And this is the image name for WordPress.
And
The image
MySQL
is,
is just the alias.
yeah, this is
For
just,
anything, if we want to mention alias, then we can mention like by
yes, you
colon
can
by
mention. You can
by this
mention.
syntax only, no?
Yes, yes, we can
Okay.
mention.
Okay.
Now, Docker TS, if we do this, we have two containers. This is one container, this is one container. Now, if I access this my site over 5050, it will be asking for database details 5050. Select this, continue. Welcome to WordPress. Before getting started, you will need to know the following items, these things. Then let's go. Database details I have to provide. What is the database name? By default, for MySQL, database name is MySQL.
By the way,
Username is
what is WordPress? Within 2 minutes, if you could explain.
WordPress is something, it's a website, it's a front end application.
Front end
Okay.
application. Okay.
Okay. It's
Like
some
we are using it
website.
as a database front face application.
Yeah, in order to store the data, which we create
Hmm.
in the WordPress,
Hmm.
database should be there, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, for this we are using. So username is root by default. Password, what the password we have provided, Laxman. How we have provided that password? Through the environment variables. This is the
Yes.
Laxman
Yes.
as the password. Okay. Database host. This is important. What is the database host? Database host means the name of the container itself will act as the
MyDB.
database host.
Hmm.
So now this WordPress can access this through it because we have established a link. That's why WordPress can access this. Fine. So the database host is MyDB. So I want to have only one thing. So let's keep this as default. Submit it. See, all right. We are successfully connected to this. Now, if I provide this wrong things here, okay, it is something saying it is already connected, but if we don't provide the right things, then it will throw error. If this is MySQL is not recognized, I will tell you what I will do is I will remove these two containers. What I will do is I will run the MySQL container. I will run the my site. Now this time I don't give this hyphen link and see what will happen. Okay, now let's use 5050 again. That should be accessible. Now we are accessing. Now let's give the database. Database name is by default it is MySQL. Username is the root. Password is Laxman. Database host. Now let's give MyDB again. What is this MyDB? This MyDB is the container name of the database. Where it is? This is the MyDB. This is the host name. Earlier also we have given that. What it is saying? This means that error establishing a database connection. Okay. Why it is error? Because there is no connection between the WordPress and the MySQL. So if there is no connection, how this will talk to the database? No, right? So for that we have to use the link command. Now let's remove this WordPress. The container name is my site. Now let's run that, execute that command. Now let's establish link with what? MyDB. Don't want to give the alias name now. I establish that. Now if I submit this again, see, it is successfully connecting to the database. Then that is the importance of the link. So how to create the LAMP architecture? First, create MyDB, then create Tomcat. I link the Tomcat with the MyDB. Just use hyphen link. Then create PHP server. Use hyphen link. Then attach this to Apache server, and also attach this to MyDB. Okay, how to attach to multiple containers? You can use multiple link options. With this will be attached. Let's see. I will show you this one. Okay, this you can practice. See here, where Jenkins country is linked with two Tomcat containers. What I have to do first? Create Jenkins container. First, now let's remove existing ones. You no need to remove them, but what I do is my system resources are very less because I have taken t2.micro. So this is very simple. Run the name of the container we want to give as dev server, detached mode, perform port mapping. This is the official image name of the Jenkins. If I do this, the image is not found locally. It is trying to connect to docker.com. From there, Jenkins image will be pulled. From that container will be created. That container will be named as dev server, and the container will be running in the detached mode.
What are you trying? What are we trying to do? Like in MySQL, are we trying to connect Jenkins also, or how?
No. This is another new one I'm doing. I'm creating Jenkins and I'm creating Tomcat server for QA environment. For QA environment, I'm creating the Tomcat server, QA server. I'm using the Tomcat image, Tom image, and I want to link this with the Jenkins. What is the Jenkins name? Dev server is the Jenkins name. Okay, this is how I am linking, and I'm naming that as the Jenkins as the link name, alias name. If I do this, Tomcat will be created for K, and the name will be QA server. Okay, that is done. Now it means what? This Tomcat can talk to the Jenkins. Now let's create prod server, same thing, but we are using different port because this port has been already used, and I am linking this again with the Jenkins.
No. I am trying to understand like what is the purpose of creating this all? Are we
This
creating separate
means if
separate
you
server?
have the knowledge about the CI/CD, what we do is we have the
Hmm.
Jenkins automation tool, and we
Hmm.
want to deploy the some artifacts, application into the QA and the prod server. What we
Hmm.
do,
Hmm.
we should have the Tomcat server to deploy our application, right? So I'm
Hmm.
creating Tomcat server for QA and prod.
Okay.
Got it? So this is
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
I'm. So in order to deploy the application from Jenkins, there should be a connection between the Jenkins and this Tomcat, right?
Hmm.
So that connection I'm doing with the hyphen link.
And why Tomcat only? Why not other? Like for QA, Tomcat is necessary or how? Like what is the feature?
Not something like that. In order to
Hmm.
deploy the application, we should have the server. We can have the
Hmm.
Tomcat, we have Nginx kind of things, right?
Okay. Anything we can pick it up. Okay.
Yes, yes. Based on the requirement. This is
Okay.
now we have done that. If we have linked, that means what? Now, if we go inside this container and ping this Jenkins, we should be able to ping that Docker exec IT board server, okay, dash shell. Now let's ping dev server. Ping is not installed. How to install ping? apt update, then apt install IP utils hyphen ping and auto upload this.
Can you please zoom it out little bit? This command line interface.
This one.
This all.
Hmm,
Control Shift plus plus. Try and
never use state.
Control Shift plus plus. You can try.
I think that doesn't work. In this terminal, that doesn't work here.
Okay.
You customize button. The size is fine, right? Small buttons.
No problem. If it is taking time, no problem. You can
Okay.
do it later.
Tomorrow
Okay.
I will try to find that
Yes, yes,
option and I will do that.
yes, yes.
Okay.
Sure. No
So
problem.
what we have done, now we have installed the ping in the, now let's ping the dev server. Dev server is nothing but what? Host name of the Jenkins. This is the container. To see this, see we are able to ping this. Why we are able to ping this? Because we have established a connection using hyphen link. That's fine, right? Now do this. If you go to the QA server and ping dev server also, from there also it will
Can you
be.
explain? Hello.
Yeah.
Can you explain the output of the ping? So what we have to check ping command after output of the
Ping.
ping.
Why do we use ping command? To test the
To,
connection between two servers, right?
yeah, and
Okay.
also
This
connection length also we can come to know, but how to rate those output?
this output is nothing but this is the data has been transmitting from
Okay.
Jenkins. Okay, from
Okay.
Jenkins. What is the Jenkins? This is the alias name we are getting. Okay,
Yeah.
so what is the IP address of this dev server? This is, so this host name is being resolved to this particular IP address. From this, this is how much time it took, the packet size and all.
Okay.
TTL means I'm not sure
Time to
what is
leave. Time to leave.
okay. That is, so time to live. Yeah,
Leave.
time to
Hmm.
live. Yes. So this is how we are came to. So if we are getting this means now let's try to
Uh,
yeah.
Lakshman sir. Sorry, but if you could explain me on diagram which you explain usually, like what we are trying to do, like installing everything is okay, but
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I am not able to understand what we are trying to do today.
No need to be sorry. This is my responsibility to make you understand. This is what? This is Jenkins. Jenkins,
Hmm.
we have named it as dev server. Okay. And this is nothing but in bracket, let me write, this is Jenkins server.
Okay.
Okay. And what we have done, the Jenkins we are running on, we are assigning port 7070 to this Jenkins. This is the Docker host port, 8080 is the container port. Okay, this is what we are doing. And we have some application. For that, application source code has been written and it was pushed into the GitHub. From that, some artifact will be built. Let's say jar file, my app.jar. The jar file, we should make use of that. How to access the jar file? It should be deployed into the server. Okay. First, which server it should be deployed into? It should be deployed into the QA server for testing. Okay. This should be deployed into the QA server.
And artifact is nothing but the application, right? You are talking about.
Okay. Yes, yes. Which background you are from?
Background is like ENTC, but I am worked as an technical support and Linux background I do have.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Okay, so this means this application. For example, if you say print hello world is there, right? Finally, how to make that accessible over the web? Artifact will be generated and it should be deployed into the server. And first, it will be deployed into the QA server. In QA server, if it is deployed, if you want to deploy this into this, definitely there should be a connection between QA server and the dev server, right? Without connection, how to do that? QA server. So if this server is there, if this connection is there, then only this will talk to each other and it will be deployed here. So for that, how to make this connection? For that, we are using --link command. In this container, we are using --link. With that, we are doing that. And we are also creating prod server. Okay. So this, once the testing has been done, if the application is successfully running, it should be deployed into the prod server.
Okay.
For this, if this wants to talk to this prod server, definitely we should have the link between these two as well. Okay. How to know that the link has been established successfully? Using ping command. That's what we have seen.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
And this all are we are doing using containers. Like usually we can see like VMs are used for these different environments.
Yes. Okay. So what is the, we will deploy this into the Kubernetes cluster in the form of multiple containers. So in order to understand those containers, we should understand this Docker. So once container is understood, then we will move to the Docker and we will deploy we will move to the Kubernetes. We will deploy the containers in the Kubernetes and we will orchestrate them. That's fine, right? Okay. Now this is just a kind of testing environment. Again, this is Docker run. In production, in real time, we don't use this. But I'm just telling, we use the Kubernetes only. For developers will be using Docker Compose to test the application in their own machine. Docker Compose also will cover. So now this is just to run. Yeah.
In the command where you have mentioned --link, who scrolled to that point once. So in that you mentioned dev server :Jenkins, right? So this Jenkins is the name of the container, or is it?
This is not the name of the container. It is just the alias name. I want to give this connection some different name. You don't need to give this also. You can give your own name also. It is not related to, is the Jenkins is there anywhere in this Jenkins container? No, right? So I want to link this prod server with the Jenkins container. Jenkins container we have named as dev server. Okay. So you don't need to give this also, no problem. If you don't give us, so just I'm giving different name to that link.
Okay, this is the tag name of your.
Yeah, you can think like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, here again. So we are creating a testing environment. For that, hub and spoke model will be there. This is the hub, and we will be having this Firefox and Chrome. For example, let's say they have developed some web application. the application has to be tested. First, they will be testing in the Chrome and browser, Firefox, and they will see if there are any error coming in different browsers. So for that, they will be having some testing environment. So for Selenium, for that, the Selenium environment will be used. Selenium / hub is the official Docker image name, and we want to run the container from that image, and to that we want to name that as hub. Detached mode performing port mapping. So how do we know that this port? So we have to go to the description of that image, then we will understand this. Now we have to establish a connection between this.
I did not understood the use of Selenium, like developers using it for
Yeah,
itself or
developers use, for example, let's say we have an application. This is a web application. How to test that application? How to test that whether it's working fine or in different browsers? You may be having Firefox browser. I may be having Chrome browser. So this application should be running successfully in the both browsers. For that, the tester should have both browsers with them. Right? Then only they can test in first Chrome, and after that in Firefox, they will test in both the browsers. So for that, we should give two browsers, both Firefox and the Chrome browsers to the testing people. For that, we have to create the testing environment.
Okay.
So for that, Selenium will be connected to both Chrome and Firefox. How this is the official name for the Selenium related Chrome. So Docker run -- name Chrome. I want to name that container as the Chrome, and detached mode and performing port mapping. And this is the link I am establishing with hub. Okay. This is just an alias name. You don't need to give this also if you don't like. And we will see the network that will be very clear. Here also I want to
name, sorry to interrupt. So that alias name is anything, or it is from
anything we can give. Let's remove this. Now let's remove this. Okay. As of now in the documents we can keep. Now instead of this Selenium, let's go to this again and let's set. You are confused about that alias name. Let's what I want to do is this Selenium environment you may not understand. No need to understand also. Just our intention is to demonstrate that link option, which is deprecated, not at all important also. For now, let's see. Now, this is the Jenkins container. Not this, not this is, not this. Now let's go to Jenkins, and we are naming that as the dev server. Now what I want to do, now clear QA environment. Now this time let's not give the alias name. Okay, so now let's create the prod environment also, and now let's not give the alias name here. So what we have done, we have created Jenkins and naming that as dev server. We are creating QA server. We are linking that with the dev server. We are creating prod server. Again, we are linking that with the this dev server. Now let's execute into prod server. Exec IT into prod server. Now here specify the bash apt update and apt install IP utils. I'm trying to install ping. This. Now ping dev server. The ping is successfully established. So that is just an alias name. You no need to use that as well. Fine, right?
Yes.
Yeah. To practice and play around with them, you will understand that. Okay.
What is minus A option will return? PS minus A will return
this
all.
This will return A stands for all. Q will give the ID. So now
ID.
let's see this. once echo docker ps aq, not this.
Bracket issue.
Bracket should be that. Yeah, sorry, there I am using this. Here.
You can
The
directly
collation.
command, right? Docker ps minus aq.
Oh, yes. Sorry, that I have to. This is very bad. That's what it will list out the IDs of the containers. As of now, I don't have any IDs. So now let's run Nginx. Run in the detached mode. Now let's run another container. Now let's run one container. Docker ps -a. What will we get? We'll get both the stopped and running container. If I use Docker ps -a2, it will list out the container IDs. So those container IDs I want to remove. RM I want to remove forcibly. If the containers are running also, I'm trying to remove all the containers. How all the containers I will specify? I will specify the container IDs. How do I get the container IDs? With this command we will get. Then this is fine. This is nothing but the link I have explained. We don't need to. So in order to view them, we have to install the VNC player. That is not important. So let's say we may be having multiple microservices. We may be having multiple microservices.
Yeah, am I audible, friends?
Yes.
Yes. We may be having multiple microservices. In this case, what we have, let's say in CSCD, we have only 2, 3 containers. And if you want to establish a link between these links, we have to run this command 3 times. But we may be having multiple microservices, 10 or 15 microservices, and definitely one microservice should talk to a relevant another microservice. In order to establish that, if we have 10 microservices, do we need to run this command 10 times and establish connection? And if you do so, what will happen? Definitely errors will occur at one or the other times. And today we have created the containers, we have shut down the containers. Tomorrow, if I want to up the same environment, if I want to bring up the same environment, what I have to do? I have to again run the 10 to 15 commands, and we are not sure whether the same the same environment will come up or not. How to do that? In order to have that multi-container architecture, we have another option called Docker Compose.
Hello.
Docker Compose, yes. Amarnath, you are talking something?
No, sir, no, I am not talking.
Okay. So if we have, let's say 40 containers or 80 containers, in general, we don't have those many containers. We can have 15 to 20 microservices. Do we need to run the 15 to 20 commands every time? There is no reliability. Tomorrow, if I run those commands, we are not sure that the same container architecture will come, right? So in order to avoid that, we have another option called Docker Compose. All the specifications of the containers we will specify inside the YAML file. We will just execute that YAML file. The total microservices containers will be created for us. And that file can be version controlled. You can store that into the repo as well. The Docker Compose we will see later. Before we have to understand. Okay, so Docker Compose, once we understand other things, volumes and networking things, then we will understand the Docker Compose. Docker Compose will be used by the developers in their local environment to test the application, but the Docker Compose won't be used in the production. Okay, but anyway, we have to understand the Docker Compose as well. I will teach that. Now, Before understanding that, now let's understand Docker volumes. To understand that, Docker run, I want to run a Ubuntu container and we have to interact with it. I am using Ubuntu. Okay. So,
Sir, have we, like, after you establishing the link, we tried by each server by pinging, right? And it's by host name, and it is pinging, na? Or have we done that? Like, sorry, I might have missed.
yeah,
With host name, it is pinging, na?
yes, with host name, it is pinging.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Yesterday, I have said that very clearly. You can go to the
Yes.
yesterday video also. Okay.
Yes, sure.
We are inside this. Now, I'm creating some file. Okay. I'm creating some file. I'm exiting, and for some reason, this container got terminated. Wantedly, I have done that. This operating system container is nothing but what? It's an operating system or it's a virtual machine. I have created some file. Where that file gone? The file is no longer available for me. But in real time, what will happen? In real time, what will happen? Now let's say this is the Docker host machine. This is the Docker host machines. We have created a container inside this. We have created a container inside this. We have created a container inside this. And let's say some banking application. This container is related to banking application, and the banking application, whenever the new transactions are being done, few database files will be created. Now let's say file 1, file 2 has been created, or if the files are already existing, they will be processed. Okay. Now let's say this application is running inside a container, and these two files are created. Now let's say it's a MySQL database. Whenever we create the databases, then new files will be created for sure. And now let's say due to some reason, due to memory or CPU issues, or due to some other error, the container may be crashed. The container may be crashed. In that case, all this banking application will also be removed. This will also be deleted. That won't be available in our Docker machine. How to preserve this data? Containers are ephemeral. They are not permanent. If you take Kubernetes also, containers will be scaled up. Whenever the traffic down, containers will be scaled down. And what happens to the data that has been created by the containers when they were scaled up? The data should be there somewhere. For that, we have a concept called volumes. In that volumes, what we do is we will mount these files. We will mount this file to some volume in the. We will mount the files to some volume in the Docker host. Volume in the sense some particular directory in the Docker host. So these files will also be created in the Docker host. So even if the container is deleted, still the files will be there here as well. And there may be a requirement that if tomorrow if we want to create Ubuntu container and we can mount this volume to this container so that these files will be coming inside the container, and we can process them and we can do whatever the things we want to do with these files. And we can mount that files. And if the new file has been created here, what will happen? This is the new container. These two files will be coming here. If we create a new file here, that file will be again synced to here. This is what the Docker volumes means. And there are two kinds of volumes, three kinds of volume. We can name this volume. My volume 1. If we name this volume and we have to mount this specific volume into this container, particular directory of the container, we will mount always to a directory. We can name this volume and we don't need to name this volume. If we name this volume, this is called as the named volume. If we don't name this volume, then some anonymous volume will be created. And we have bind mount also. We will understand that now. So, and if we have created another container also, so these files can be shared, the container can share its files with the other container also. That is shareable volume we will create, and these files can be synced to another container also. We will see these different kind of things. So anonymous volumes means, we don't name the volume explicitly. If you see practically, we will see that. So what will happen? We will create a container with an anonymous volume, which is mounted as a data01 on the container. Which directory of the container should be mounted to the volume? Which container will be having multiple directories? If you take MySQL container, MySQL will be having multiple kind of directories. Where will be there? Lib will be there different. But the MySQL files will be created in where lib. MySQL, whenever the new database has been created, so the files will be created in this MySQL directory. So we have to mount this volume. We have to mount this particular path. Okay, so we have to specify this. How I want to run a container. Okay, and the image name is Nginx. I want to name that container as web UAT01. I want to create a volume, and that volume, where do we want to mount? I want to mount that to this directory of the container. Where this directory is? This directory is related, that will be there in the Nginx. If this directory, the directory with this name doesn't exist in this Nginx container, this directory will be created in this Nginx, and that directory will be mounted to the volume. Which volume? We are not specifying the volume name, so some anonymous volume will be created in this path. This is the working directory of the Docker in the Docker host machine. So after that, I want to interact with that. Once interact, then I can create the files and you can see that. Now let's do that. cd var lib docker. If I go here, see we have a directory called volumes. In that volumes, we have already different volumes are there. Now let me remove all those things. This is where volumes will be created for different containers, and some random hashtag will be given. Now what I do is
this will be the default path, na?
Yeah,
where all volumes will get created.
yeah,
Okay.
this is
For
the
Docker.
yes.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
the Docker. Now what I
In
do,
every virtual machine, it will be same path, like
yes,
for Ubuntu.
yes.
Okay.
Now let's do one thing. From here, now let's use watch command. Watch n. For every second, I want to watch ls. This is one of the command. For every second, ls command will be executed. Now let's do one thing. I have created the one more session. Issue. I'm buying as the root user. Now let's create this container. Let's create the container. Now I'm naming the container as this one. This is the image name, and this is the directory of the container. If this directory is there in the container path, that is fine. If it is not there, it will be created. I know that this directory won't be there in the Nginx by default. It will be created, and for this a volume will be created. In that volume, this directory will be mounted. If I do this, see what happened. A volume for this container has been created with some random hashtag. This is some anonymous volume, anonymously named. Now, go inside this, inside data directory will be there. Now there is no file. So if I go inside the container, if I go to see this data directory has been created. If I go inside, there are no files in this directory. Now let's try to create some files. As I done that, let's create file 1, file 2, file 3 and see whether they will be coming here. For that, go inside underscore data. Now let's execute this. So now let's try to create what? Now, see, file 1 has been created in the container and that is coming into this volume which is there in the Docker host.
Right.
Touch file 2. That got created. Touch file 3. Now let's remove file 1. See, file 1 got removed. File 3. That is how it will happen. Now let's do one thing. See, only we have file 2. Now let's create file 3 here. Where I'm creating in the Docker machine, Docker host. If I do this here file 2 and file 3 will be there. Now it should be coming in container as well. If I see this, yeah.
So in this root machine, okay, or where like we are accessing the volume, in that also with that anonymous name, in that anonymous name, again one folder is getting created automatically. Hyphen data, right? Like that, like that's dash is there, right, before that data name. Okay.
Yes.
And from there we are using, and this command is to watch for every 1 second, right?
Yes.
For
Yes.
watch -1 ELS, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, understood. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Then see, I have created this file 3 here, so that file also coming. So it is a two-way communication. Two both ways it got synced. Now, if I remove this file 3 here, that will also remove here. Yes.
So the files which are creating, like the space will also get shared, or is it like in both the container as well as in the local host, the space will be shared, or it will be again allocated for both the cases?
Space will be, that means what?
So for example, if you have 1 GB of data in the container, and from the so that 1 GB will be shared among these two, or will it be different? Like the volume which is there in the local host will be different from the volume which is there in the.
These containers will be using the underlying disk owner, right? So container don't have any volume, any space on their own. They will be using the underlying system only.
So yeah. So this will be shared then.
Yes.
That's the reason you are seeing, like, even if you create there the same file.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is how.
And there will be not the separate data, like 1 GB file is not copying, it is just getting created on the root volume itself.
Yes.
And we are just accessing in the Docker.
Yes. Okay. Then.
And these are called anonymous volumes.
These are anonymous volume because they are anonymously named.
Okay.
And even if you are giving the name, that name will get reflect right now over here.
Yeah, that we will see now. Now we will see the named volumes. So here we do not provide any name. Directly we are creating a volume, and to that we are mounting the container path. Now if I see here named volumes, we are explicitly providing the name of the volume. See, from here to here we don't have any prefix. Now we are naming that volume, we are mounting the directory. See the difference from here to here. Have you observed the difference now? We are naming the volume. Yes. Now let's do this.
No problem.
Okay. So now what we do is, now let's go 2 steps backward and now watch. Now what I want to do is, now exit from this container, remove this container altogether. Now exit from this. Now there is no container, but still
Like to remove only one container also we are giving that much
yes, that is bad practice, but I don't want to execute that ps-a command, so that's why I have to.
Okay.
So here we got this one. Even container is deleted, still our file is there. Okay, so now what I want to do is, ls. See, now let's do one thing. Now let's execute this.
So Laxman, before you go to this named volumes, you created container 1, for example, and attached some volume, and you created some files, and you repeated that, and again you recreated a new container. Then how the data will be stored? Like, if it is not named, then how does it know?
Yeah, that is the problem. That is the problem. So we should give the own name. I will tell you, I will demonstrate that. I will create, I will terminate and I will create a new container and we will mount the existing data into the new container. I will show you.
Okay.
Now let's name this as volume 1. Let's name this as volume 2 because we have 2 right here. So now let me simplify that. Now this data 01 directory will be created. Now let's name it as 02 in order to avoid confusion. So Nginx by default, we don't have any this kind of directory. So this directory will be created. It's not like data. You can have mydir. Okay. So this will be, now if I see.
It's not like.
Now what happened? Our name came here to this volume. This is what named volume. Earlier we did not specify this. Getting? So this is anonymous.
-v, what is volume? It will be -v.
-v, I want to name the volume.
Okay.
This is named volume. In the first case, what we did not provide this name. That's why we got some random name. That is anonymous. Now we are explicitly mentioning the name of the volume. I want to create a volume called volume-02. You can name whatever you want here. Okay, you can want web02, web, whatever the way you want. But just I want to just name this as volume 2. So with this volume will be created and this volume will be mounted to the mydir2 of the Nginx. Now we are inside the Nginx container. So if I go inside this, now let's do one thing. cd volume 2, cd _ data. Here now let's watch. What I want to do is, now let's create some file. Are you getting right? So with the named volume, so we have some meaningful name to the volume that has been created for the particular container, right? Now, what I do is, now let's exit from this container. Docker ps, docker ps docker rm. Okay, to remove a single container. Now what I do is, I will create another container. Docker run. I want to run a container and name it as my Ubuntu. My Ubuntu. Okay, and what I do is I will use that volume 02, and I want to mount this to some data dir. Okay, now give the Ubuntu name and interact with it. So now let's see what will happen. This data dir has been created. Okay, see what happened. The files which we have created in the nginx container, those files, that volume we are mounting here. Now we can create few more files here. Touch. Right? This is how we can mount the existing volume. The same command we will be using. Okay, if we use the earlier existing volume name, then that will be mounted. If we use the other name, new volume will be created. That's it for today, friends. So we will continue our session tomorrow. That's it. And
So the left value will be matters, right? The left side label where you mentioned volume 02, that will be mounted.
yes. Okay. Thank you. I will see the recording. Yes.
Sure, sir. Like just a doubt, we are seeing everything about the Docker, like networking and all, but just asking for the doubt, like we will cover in this Docker part all about the Docker, like everything, right? No?
Yes, everything.
Okay, thank you.
Do you also cover Helm chart and its internals?
In Kubernetes, I don't cover Helm chart, but we can see one or two examples. Helm chart is very easy, right? What we're doing is that we will bundle all our Kubernetes manifest files in a folder and we will deploy them together. We will see that, okay? We will see that for sure in Kubernetes.
One more, sir, like deployment is okay. Like we can do after this class, like you are showing the same, so we can do the practice also. But what about diagnostic? Will you be covering these two parts? Like what are the problems getting in the actual production environment and how we diagnose it and how we resolve it? Are you?
Vinayak, could you please repeat could you please a little slow?
I'm asking, like this part is okay, like you will be covering Docker and Kubernetes by what we are going to do over there, like while how we create it, okay, and how we use it. But I want, like, I need to know, will you be taking 1 or 2 lecture, if you could, regarding the diagnosis part? What are the problems getting inside the Kubernetes and Docker and how we diagnose it and how we resolve it?
Sure. So during the class itself, we will see.
Okay.
No, tomorrow is demo is there, right?
Tomorrow demos will be stopped. People who will pay the money today, so they have already given, I think, sufficient time for you to decide. So people who will pay, they will only be eligible for tomorrow classes.
No, like, is it possible to just tomorrow Kubernetes overview? Like, so why? Because we come now, we are like very confident about Docker, so very well. I mean that, so way of explanation. So we confident about Docker. So can you just give half an hour demo to Kubernetes about? So what will be like that? How it will be?
Okay, I will do it. If it is agreed,
then we can decide and we can join like a day after day, like.
Okay, sure. Let's have a demo tomorrow as well. Okay.
Yeah, the Kubernetes, about the Kubernetes.
Okay. Like what we will learn in that Kubernetes part, and
yes.
Somebody is asking, Nilesh. First, Nilesh is pinging 2 times. Let me answer his question. I will come back to you. Sir, is this sufficient for Kubernetes application developer certification? Yes, it will be sufficient, provided that this Kubernetes certification is practical exam, right? We should practice. Whatever the thing that we teach is, that is sufficient. We should practice. Based on practice only, you will be eligible for you will be able to clear that.
Like after this class, you mean to say we can clear Kubernetes certified administrator exam?
Yes, yes.
If we do the practice daily. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay, sir. Sorry, I'm asking too much question, sir. But just a curiosity, I'm asking, like, have you completed that certificate, sir? Kubernetes certified administrator.
No, as of now, I didn't get a chance because I didn't get a chance to write that exam. Yeah.
No problem at all, sir. But you have this sufficient knowledge, and it is
Yes.
enough for us. No problem. Thank
Yes. What I believe is that certification, there are people who have certification, but they can't. I am not criticizing. I did not even done any certification till now. I am not interested in that.
you. Okay. No problem. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, friends, let me save this recording.
Hello, sir.